So our last recipient is also an entrepreneur. She's got her own luxury brand. And I'd like to invite Sime to please come and tell us a little bit more about herself. Everyone, thank you.
Hi everyone. Unlike the first two speakers, I don't consider myself very great at public speaking. In fact, I got panicked when I was told I was going to have to give a speech or talk about myself. So I came to Buckingham, I think, 20 years ago, and it was an amazing experience. One of my very first experiences in Buckingham in class was, I think, my first day was in a group of, we were all put into groups, and we were asked to work on a simulator that was planning the British economy. So we are to play the role of being the Chancellor of the Exchequer, and then there are different, parameters. If you raise interest rates or if you increase taxes, it's going to have this effect on employment or this different things. So we all had to plot or make decisions on what we are going to do as a Chancellor of the Exchequer, and the simulator will sort of like give us results to see whether or not the British economy was doing good or not. And it was fun. And this was like the first time I was engaging in what seemed to be like work or academia that was just fun. I could see the results afterwards, and it made me feel, I don't know about other people in the class, but made me feel so important, and made me feel like for the first time, like actually, I can actually do anything. If this is what the Chancellor of the Exchequer actually does. Yeah, and I found that the friendships, the connections in class, the method of teaching. I think I can spot one of my lecturers here. I'm not sure I remember his Nigel. Yes. It was just different because my first degree was in Nigeria, and I came here to do an MBA. So this was my first, the simulator was the first course doing an MBA. And I remember having conversations with my dad about studies and stuff. And my dad will tease me and say, all the books I refused to read when I was in Nigeria, I'm reading all of that now. And I thrived in school, in courses, finance courses. I got grades that I never expected to get, and it wasn't because I struggled. I enjoyed class and I learned, So that's one of the things I would give as commendation to Buckingham, and the way they teach actually is fun and helps you learn, Okay, so speaking of myself, going on from that, graduated from Buckingham, not really sure what I wanted to do, having had that great education, but I went into the corporate world, worked in, I worked with Experian, went back to Nigeria, worked with Coca-Cola. I've always had a flair for fashion. So eventually I said, I'm going to start my own business. Registered my company in the UK, started designing dresses, and years later I did, my first fashion show in London. But I still had no plan, but I remembered everything that had been taught in the school, doing the MBA, having to plan different aspects of your business, marketing communications, having market strategy, operations, management, different things. So I had to put all of that into practice. Still thinking of my 9-to-5 job. So I run a business and I still have a 9-to-5 job today, working for a corporate organization in London. And one advice I'll give to young people who are coming up or trying to find their paths in life is never stop believing, dream. There are no rules. Well, there are rules, but when you're approaching what you want to do in life, don't limit yourself to rules or how any other person has done stuff. Decide on your own path and believe you can do anything. Some people will say it's not possible to have a 9-to-5 job and run a business. I'm doing it. And I did it while growing to a senior position even in my company. And one of the other things I'm going to say, which isn't particularly about my business, I'm going to give something like a short personal story that speaks to resilience in, just facing life. Prior to relaunching my business 2 years ago, because I started my business as a hobby, just designing dresses, doing fashion shows, no route to market plan, no real finance plan. I didn't even have a website when I did the fashion show, just design dresses. I found a supplier somewhere, and I'll sell to friends. But 2 years ago, I said I was going to become more serious with this and have a structured plan. I'd gained enough experience in the industry, having done it, for a few years, almost 10 years. Before 2 weeks before going on this fashion show and relaunching my business, I got diagnosed with leukemia. That was a time where I could have shut it all down and allow life to defeat me, but I didn't. I started chemo and went ahead with the fashion show. I did the fashion show, and between then and now, I've done 2 fashion shows. Thankfully, I'm all good now, but it's not allowing life control your curveballs, not allowing any, and you can't see tomorrow, you don't know what's coming ahead, not allowing anything to shake you, being resilient, having a passion, focus on something. It's because when you face trials in life that we don't all plan for, having a passion will actually help you fight. So that's one of the advice I want to give to people who are trying to, make something, of themselves or achieve something in life. So that's it about me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing. And on behalf of the alumni body, I'd like to present you this plaque.
Yeah, bravo.